The red and blue lights illuminated my driveway like I'd committed a heist. I stopped mid-motion, power drill in hand, standing over a partially completed wooden ramp. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd actually lost my mind. But no. 2 officers emerged from the patrol car, hands resting on their belts, studying me like I was some sort of felon. Behind me, my boy sat peacefully on the porch in his wheelchair, his little toy truck held in his lap. He wasn't frightened. He was grinning, watching me work, proud that his father was finally building something to give him the freedom he desired. I wasn't constructing a barrier. I wasn't breaking into someone's property. I was building a ramp so my son could enter his house without me lifting him every single day. Before we continue, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story reaches. One of the officers spoke up. "Sir, are you the one installing this structure without permission?" That's when she emerged. Lydia, the HOA president, folder under her arm, marching across the street like a commander heading into war. I should have realized she was behind this spectacle. "Of course, I'm building it," I said, gesturing at my son. "This is for him. He deserves to roll into his own home with respect, not be lifted like cargo." But Lydia interrupted before the officer could respond. "He's violating the law," she snapped, face contorted with rage. "This neighborhood has strict regulations. No exterior changes without HOA approval. That ramp is an eyesore and a violation. It decreases our property values." My teeth clenched, but I kept my voice calm. "Lydia, I'm a civil engineer. This isn't just secure. It's fully compliant with ADA accessibility requirements, and I already have a temporary permit from the city. I'm not violating the law. You're violating basic human decency." Her smirk wavered for a moment, but she gripped her folder tighter and persisted. "Rules are rules. You don't get to ignore them just because you feel like it. The HOA will not allow this." The officers exchanged glances. I handed them the paperwork, the city permit compliance documents. One officer reviewed the papers, nodded, then looked directly at her. "Ma'am, he's within his rights. The Americans with Disabilities Act requires reasonable accommodations like this, regardless of HOA regulations. You had no basis to call this in." That erased the smug expression off Lydia's face faster than a splash of cold water. She stammered, but the officers had already stepped back, holsters untouched. One of them even gave me a solid handshake. "Great job, sir. You're doing right by your boy." Lydia stood there on the sidewalk, folder clutched to her chest, seething. I thought maybe being shut down in front of law enforcement would make her retreat, but the glare she gave me told me otherwise. This wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. Lydia wasn't the type to nurse her wounds quietly. By the next morning, 3 violation notices were stuffed into my mailbox like she'd been waiting all night at the printer. Non-approved exterior modification, noise complaints, unauthorized construction, the works. She even listed the ramp color as conflicting with neighborhood standards, like I'd spray painted it neon pink instead of a calm slate gray. I stood at the mailbox, shaking my head, notices fluttering in the breeze, while my boy asked, "Dad, are they going to take my ramp away?" I knelt beside him. "No, son. They can write all the fake tickets they want. Federal law is stronger than Lydia's folder." And that was accurate. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 and the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988, property owners are guaranteed the right to make reasonable accessibility modifications. HOA regulations can't override federal protections. But Lydia, she acted like her folder was the Constitution itself. That weekend, she escalated. Flyers appeared at the community mailbox station. Emergency HOA meeting. Unapproved construction threatens neighborhood standards. Neighbors whispered, some irritated at her, others just curious. I decided not to hide away. On the night of the meeting, I wheeled my son into the clubhouse myself, right down the very ramp she wanted destroyed. The parking lot was buzzing, people waiting for drama. Lydia stood at the front like a judge presiding over court. Slideshow projected on the wall. Slide after slide, she displayed photos of my ramp from every angle. Then came crude mock-ups of the neighborhood ruined by copycat ramps. People chuckled at the absurdity, but Lydia smirked like she was presenting evidence in a murder case. She clicked to the final slide and declared, "If this ramp remains, it will open the door for chaos. Every homeowner will think they can build whatever they please. We must vote to tear it down immediately." For a moment, silence hung in the air. Then my son raised his little hand. His voice was quiet but steady. "I just want to get into my house, without my dad carrying me every time." The room froze. Lydia's smirk disappeared. He continued, "My dad built it so I can be independent. If that's wrong, maybe the regulations are wrong." A wave of applause broke out. Some neighbors even stood. Phones came out. People recording, posting live updates. Lydia's grip on her folder faltered. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe because the story is only going to get better. When the noise died down, I stepped forward with a folder of documents. City permits, ADA compliance documents, even email exchanges with the inspector who'd approved my design. "Everything about this ramp is legal," I said. "Federal law requires reasonable accommodations. Lydia's regulations don't stand up in court." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone in the back shouted, "He's right. My cousin had to fight the same battle in another neighborhood. The HOA lost." Others nodded, emboldened. Lydia's cheeks burned red. For the first time, she didn't look in control, and I realized this wasn't just about my ramp anymore. It was about years of neighbors quietly swallowing her harassment. The battle was shifting, and Lydia knew it. After the meeting, I thought Lydia might retreat, nurse her wounds, maybe issue one last bitter email blast. But no, she doubled down. Within days, I got a final notice from the HOA demanding the ramp be torn down within 7 days or face a $2,500 fine. That's when I stopped playing defense. I gathered everything. Emails, violation notices, the police report from when she called the cops on me, even footage from my security cameras showing her sneaking around at night snapping photos of the ramp. I filed a formal complaint with the City Housing Authority and contacted a disability rights attorney. The attorney didn't mince words. "They're not just wrong, they're in violation of federal law. The ADA and the Fair Housing Act explicitly prohibit HOAs from denying accessibility modifications. What they've done to you and your son opens them up to serious liability." So we sued. The day of the hearing, Lydia strutted into court in a navy blue suit, folder tucked under her arm like it was holy scripture. Behind her sat a handful of board members, clearly nervous. Across the aisle, I sat with my son and our lawyer, calm and steady. The judge wasted no time. After reviewing the evidence, he asked Lydia one simple question. "On what legal basis did you demand this ramp be removed?" She started rattling off HOA bylaws about aesthetic consistency and property value preservation. The judge cut her off. "The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 supersedes your HOA regulations. You don't get to override federal law with neighborhood preferences." Her face drained of color. My attorney slid over the stack of fake violation notices, timestamps showing they were fabricated. "This wasn't enforcement, Your Honor. This was harassment." By the end of the day, the ruling was clear. The HOA was guilty of discrimination and retaliation. The fine notices were voided. The ramp was declared permanently protected and Lydia was personally cited for abuse of authority. Damages $50,000 to cover emotional distress, legal costs, and the harassment we endured. Neighbors packed the courtroom whispering, some even clapping when the gavel fell. For years, they'd feared Lydia's wrath. Now they saw her folder crumble under the weight of real law. Within a month, the HOA board collapsed. Lydia was voted out in disgrace, forced to sell her house after a lien was placed for the damages she owed. The tyrant of the cul-de-sac was gone, and the ramp, still standing, still sturdy. My son rolls down it every morning with a grin that makes every late night of sawing and hammering worth it. That little ramp became more than wood and screws. It became a symbol, a reminder that kindness isn't against the regulations, and that no folder of fake rules is stronger than a parent fighting for their child. Every time I watch my boy glide into his home free and proud, I know the battle was worth it. justice served, the ramp protected, and a community finally free from Lydia's reign.